Magnificent lightning. The interceptor that arrived too late. Chapter 1. August 3, 1945. Mushiroda Airfield. Captain Masayoshi Tsuruno advances the throttle on the strangest aircraft ever built in Japan. The Kyushu J7W1 Shinden sits on the runway with its six-bladed propeller mounted at the rear, spinning behind the tail. Small Canard wings jut from the nose like whiskers. The main wings sweep back near the tail section. Everything about this aircraft is backward, unconventional, wrong, except the mathematics that prove it should work. At 126 miles per hour, Tsuruno pulls back on the control column. The Shinden lifts into the morning air, its tricycle landing gear hanging extended beneath the fuselage. Tsuruno doesn't retract the wheels. This is a first flight. No risks. Stay below 1,300 feet. Don't exceed 160 mph. 15 minutes maximum. Just prove it flies. The aircraft pulls hard to the right, massive torque from the tooth of 130 horsepower Mitsubishi Ha-43 engine, trying to roll the fighter onto its back. Tsuruno corrects with left aileron. The propeller vibrates noticeably through the extended drive shaft connecting engine to blades. But the Shinden flies. It's stable, controllable. After 15 minutes, Tsuruno brings it down, landing at 115 mph. It's August 3, 1945. 3 days from now, an atomic bomb will obliterate Hiroshima. 6 days from now, Nagasaki will burn. 12 days from now, Japan will surrender unconditionally. The war is ending. The Shinden Magnificent Lightning. The fighter designed to save the Homeland from B-29 bombers has arrived exactly when it can no longer matter. Tsuruno will fly the Shinden twice more on August 6th, the day Hiroshima burns, and August 9th, the day Nagasaki dies. Total flight time 45 minutes. Then the war ends, and the most radical fighter Japan ever built becomes a museum piece before it can fight. Chapter 2. 1943. The Canard Solution. Lieutenant Commander Masayoshi Tsuruno stares at the problem that's killing Japan. Boeing B-29. Superfortresses fly at 30,000 feet beyond the effective ceiling of most Japanese interceptors. They cruise at 230 mph, not particularly fast, but fast enough that climbing to intercept them wastes precious time. They're heavily armored, bristling with defensive guns. Conventional Japanese fighters struggle to shoot them down before the bombers complete their runs and escape. Japan needs an interceptor that climbs rapidly, to extreme altitude, carries devastating armament, and maintains stability during high-speed attack runs. Tsuruno proposes something radical, a Canard configuration with the main wing at the rear and small stabilizing wings at the front. It's aerodynamically efficient, placing the center of gravity forward for better stability. The design allows mounting heavy cannon in the nose without affecting balance. But it's never been done in a combat aircraft. Canard designs are experimental curiosities, not proven fighters. The Imperial Japanese Navy needs proof before committing resources. In late 1943, Tsuruno's team at the 1st Naval Air Technical Arsenal builds 3 MXY-6 gliders to test the concept. They're constructed from wood, cheap, fast disposable, if the design fails. Flight trials begin that fall. The Canard configuration works beautifully. The gliders are stable, maneuverable, and prove that placing the main wing aft doesn't create the catastrophic control problems critics predicted. The Navy is impressed. They order Kyushu Aircraft Company, a subsidiary of Watanabe Iron Works, with relatively unburdened production facilities, to develop an interceptor around Tsuruno's concept. construction of the first two prototypes begins in June 1944. An official order is issued with an expected first flight in January 1945. The design is ambitious. The two 130-horsepower Mitsubishi Ha-43 18-cylinder radial engine sits behind the cockpit, driving a 6-bladed propeller via a long extension shaft running through the rear fuselage. 4 Type 5 30mm cannons mount in the nose, each capable of firing 450 rounds per minute, devastating firepower against bomber formations. Estimated top speed 469 mph, service ceiling 39,370 feet, climb rate 2,460 feet per minute. On paper, the Shinden is exactly what Japan needs. A high-altitude interceptor that can reach B-29s, quickly hit them with overwhelming firepower, and survive the encounter. But building it proves far more difficult than designing it. Chapter 3. The Race Against Time. By January 1945, when the first prototype should be flying, it's still under construction at Kyushu's Zashonokuma plant near Fukuoka. Stress calculations aren't completed until January. The airframe is finished in April, but engine cooling problems delay ground tests for months. The Ha-43's supercharger installation creates overheating when the engine runs at full power on the ground. Long, narrow, obliquely mounted air intakes on the fuselage sides can't provide adequate cooling until the aircraft is moving forward. Worse, critical equipment parts are unavailable. American submarines have strangled Japan's supply lines. Strategic materials are scarce. Factories are being bombed. The nationwide chaos gripping Japan's aircraft industry delays every component, every system, every test. Yet remarkably, production orders are already issued. Before the first prototype flies, the Imperial Japanese Navy orders the J7W1 into full production. Kyushu's factory will build 30 per month. Nakajima's Honda plant will produce 120 monthly. Between April 1946 and March 1947, planners estimate 1,086 Shinden interceptors will defend Japan's skies. It's fantasy. Japan doesn't have the resources, time, or industrial capacity for such production. But the orders are issued anyway because the alternative, admitting the war is lost, is unthinkable. Ground tests finally begin in mid-1945. During taxi trials, the prototype's propeller strikes the runway during an over-rotation. The aircraft is repaired. Tailwheels from a Kyushu K11W Shiragiku trainer are added under each vertical stabilizer to prevent future propeller strikes. Test pilot Yoshitaka Miyaishi takes over from Tsuruno to assess handling during ground runs. Finally, on August 3rd, Tsuruno, the aircraft's designer, climbs into the cockpit for the first flight. 15 minutes later, Japan has a proven Canard interceptor. 2 more flights on August 6th and 9 confirm the design works, despite persistent right roll tendency and propeller vibration. Then the war ends. Production orders are canceled. The second prototype under construction will never be completed. The Shinden's combat career consists of exactly 0 sorties against exactly 0 enemy bombers. Chapter 4. What it might have done. The specifications suggest the Shinden could have been formidable. 4 Type 5 30mm cannons firing simultaneously deliver devastating firepower. The Type 5 was inspired by the German Mauser MG 151-20 and designed specifically to penetrate heavy bomber armor. A concentrated burst from all 4 cannons, Zien 800 rounds per minute combined, would shred a B-29's pressurized fuselage, disable engines, ignite fuel tanks. The climb rate of 2,460 feet per minute meant intercepting bombers at 30,000 feet in roughly 12 minutes from takeoff, competitive with any fighter in service. The Canard configuration provided excellent stability during high-speed attack runs, critical for accurate gunnery against fast-moving targets. The pusher propeller configuration created unobstructed forward visibility. The pilot could see targets clearly without engine or propeller interfering with his line of sight, a significant advantage during deflection shooting against bomber formations. But the Shinden also had serious problems that 3 flights couldn't reveal. The powerful engine's torque created persistent right roll tendency, requiring constant left aileron correction. The extended drive shaft vibrated, potentially leading to fatigue failures after extended operation. Engine cooling remained marginal adequate for short intercept missions, but questionable for sustained operations. Most critically, the Shinden was complex and difficult to manufacture. The Canard configuration required precise weight distribution and careful center of gravity calculations. The drive shaft had to maintain perfect alignment or risk catastrophic failure. Training pilots to fly an aircraft with such unconventional handling would take time Japan didn't have. American intelligence officers who examined the captured prototype noted these concerns. Their assessment innovative and potentially effective, but arriving too late to matter. Even if development had progressed normally, the Shinden wouldn't have entered service until mid-1946, months after Japan's surrender. Chapter 5. The Jet That Never Was. Tsuruno's original vision wasn't a propeller fighter. From the beginning, he envisioned a jet-powered interceptor. The Canard design would work even better with turbojet engines, no torque issues, no propeller vibration, higher speeds, better altitude performance. The designation J7W1 Shinden Kai was reserved for the jet version powered by a Ni 130 axial flow turbojet, producing 984 pounds of thrust. But Japan's jet engine development lagged years behind Germany and Britain. The Ni 130 existed only on paper in 1945. Even if it had been developed, producing sufficient numbers to power an interceptor fleet was impossible. Japan lacked the metallurgy, the manufacturing precision, and the strategic materials. So the propeller-driven J7W1 became reality, while the jet-powered J7W2 remained a dream. It's one of history's cruel ironies. The first prototype flew on August 3, 1945, exactly 1 day after the Gloucester Meteor, Britain's jet fighter, set a new world speed record. Japan's most advanced fighter concept was obsolete before it could fight overtaken by technology it couldn't match. Had the war continued into 1946, had Japan somehow developed the Ni 130 engine, the jet-powered Shinden might have posed serious problems for B-29 formations. But the atomic bombs ended that possibility. The J7W2 never progressed beyond early design studies. Chapter 6. Captured. U.S. Marines discover the first Shinden prototype at Kyushu's factory in September 1945. The cockpit glass is missing, removed during a typhoon or by souvenir hunters, no one knows which. Body panels are damaged. The aircraft sits forlorn among other Japanese prototypes and experimental types. Relics of a defeated nation's desperate final efforts. Under American orders, Japanese workers repair and repaint the Shinden. Most photographs of the aircraft are taken during or immediately after these repairs. In almost every image, the cockpit glass remains missing, giving the fighter an incomplete, abandoned appearance. In October 1945, a U.S. Navy Technical Air Intelligence Unit disassembles the Shinden and ships it to the United States along with 145 other captured Japanese aircraft. The second prototype is scrapped in Japan. For many years, historians believed the first prototype was destroyed and the second captured, but this was later proven incorrect. The Shinden is reassembled in America, but never flown. With only 45 minutes of flight time and known vibration issues, American test pilots see no reason to risk flying an experimental enemy aircraft. The data has already been extracted through examination. The Navy transfers the Shinden to the Smithsonian Institution in 1960. Today, the forward fuselage sits on display at the Stephen F. Udvar-Hazy Center at Dulles Airport. The rest wing's tail engine remains in storage at the Garber facility in Maryland, awaiting a restoration effort that will reunite the components without compromising the aircraft's historic patina. Chapter 7. The Legacy. The Shinden achieved nothing and changed nothing, yet it remains iconic. It's the only Canard configuration fighter ordered into production during World War II. The United States experimented with the Curtiss XP-55 Ascender, also a Canard pusher design, but that program never advanced beyond prototypes. The Shinden went further. Production orders issued, factories assigned schedules created before time ran out. It represents Japan's technical creativity under impossible circumstances. Facing strategic bombing, resource shortages, and industrial collapse, Japanese engineers still conceived radical solutions. The Shinden wasn't a desperate copy of foreign designs. It was genuinely innovative, born from mathematical analysis of aerodynamic efficiency and interceptor requirements. But it also symbolizes the futility of Japan's final war efforts. By the time the Shinden flew, Japan had already lost. The atomic bombs were already being assembled. The invasion fleets were already gathering. No interceptor, no matter how innovative, could reverse the strategic situation. The Shinden arrived too late, because Japan's defeat was inevitable, months before the prototype lifted off. In recent years, the Shinden has found new fame. Toho Studios built a full-scale replica for the 2023 film Godzilla -1, where a Shinden is used against the titular monster. The replica now sits on display at the Tachiarai Peace Memorial Museum. Another full-scale model exists at the Yoichi Space Museum in Hokkaido. These replicas ensure the Shinden remains visible, tangible, real, even though the design never proved itself in combat. Visitors can walk around the fuselage, examine the canard wings, stand beneath the massive propeller. They can imagine what might have been, if history had been different, if the war had lasted longer, if Japan had possessed the resources to field the innovative designs its engineers conceived. Chapter 8. Too Late. On August 3, 1945, Captain Tsuruno flew the Shinden for 15 minutes and proved it worked. On August 6th, he flew it again while Hiroshima burned. On August 9th, he flew it a final time while Nagasaki died. 45 minutes total, 3 flights, 0 combat sorties, 0 B-29s intercepted, 0 contribution to Japan's defense. The magnificent Lightning arrived when lightning no longer mattered. By the time it flew, Japan needed miracles, not interceptors. The atomic bombs demonstrated that conventional air defense, no matter how innovative, couldn't prevent Japan's destruction. The age of strategic bombing had evolved past the point where individual fighters, no matter how well-designed, could meaningfully alter outcomes. Tsuruno's Canard concept was sound. The Shinden's design was innovative. The engineering was solid despite wartime constraints. Under different circumstances, with more time, more resources, more industrial capacity, the J7W1 might have become a legendary interceptor. But history doesn't grade on potential, it grades on results. And the Shinden's results were 45 minutes of flight time before obsolescence. The aircraft sits in the Smithsonian today, its forward fuselage displayed behind rope barriers, its canard wings pointing forward toward an enemy that no longer exists. Its 4 30mm cannon ports empty its propeller shaft silent. Visitors photograph it, read the placard move on to the next exhibit. They're looking at the interceptor that Japan swore would defend the homeland, the fighter that engineers promised would stop the B-29s, the radical Canard design that would change aerial warfare. They're looking at a fighter that flew 3 times and changed nothing. Beautiful, innovative, perfectly timed to arrive exactly when it couldn't matter. Too late for war. Too late for glory. Too late for everything except remembrance.